Hi, Sue.
Hi, Leonie. How you doing? Happy
You,
publication week. Oh
thank you.
no,
You
last week.
too.
So thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Well, yeah. Yes, it's all go with our books this month, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Has it been too busy for you this publication week?
Um, no, not really. Yesterday was busy on social media.
Mm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
I got toning nails, you see, for publication day,
That's
and then I've wrecked
brilliant.
all the ends of them. I was I was on my
Oh,
laptop so much.
what a shame. But it's so lovely to have this chat on in our publication month to join you
Absolutely.
for and cheers to our books.
Cheers, cheers, prosecco in honor of you,
Thank
and
you.
the success of A Taste of
Yeah,
Italian Sunshine.
Italian books. And cheers to everyone who's watching along. Thank you for
Oh yeah,
coming.
that too.
Yeah. um, yeah, we'll try and keep an eye on the comments if you want to leave a question. We'll see what we can, what we manage to answer, or we'll come back and answer them later. So questions definitely welcome. But to start off with, I wanted to ask what you think. What is it about Italy that captures readers' imagination and that makes us want to write our books about Italy? What do you think it is?
Well, partly my editor thinks that it's a good thing commercially because a lot of people love Italy. And I'd written to on the mainland in Umbria. And
Mm.
so I said, how about Sicily? And then had the devil's own job getting there because of flights being cancelled. But I did it in the end and
Oh.
absolutely
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I like to go to where I'm writing about. I don't like to I'm not one of these authors who feels they can do their best work just watching videos on YouTube. That might be a supplement, but I like to go there and then put it against my tax bill, which is like a double
Yeah.
benefit. How about you? What do you think about
The
books in
yeah.
Italy?
Um, there's definitely a kind of cultural aspect, the way that we have this impression of Italy as an open culture that people can join in and access, I suppose, which is one nice thing, and something that's familiar but also a little bit different. Yeah, it's interesting that the number of times I hear from readers, "Oh, I've wanted to go to Italy for years, and
Yeah.
now I really want to go." And also, people who learn Italian and are just really involved in the culture. So it's interesting to think, to wonder why that is. And I mean, certainly, yeah, the times that I've visited Italy, there's a bit of cultural aspect, friendly people, and I suppose the historical buildings and things like that. And that
Very.
maybe even go back to Rome. We all share a little bit of a bit of interest in the history of Rome, of ancient Rome, and there's still a lot of it.
It's a
Or
very beautiful country as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, yeah. And so much variety in the different places. Um, so, how long did you spend in Ortigia or
For a
in
week.
Syracuse? Uh huh.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I did stay in Ortigia,
Yeah.
and so I planted my hotel, Residenza dei
Mhm.
Tringali, in exactly the same place, but actually it was
Mhm.
one that was around the coast a bit visually in my mind. I didn't go
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, and it's the old city, and that's what I like,
Yeah.
rather than the newer bit.
And Sicily as well has those different influences of from history, not just ancient Rome, but it's the ancient Greece as well, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, can I bring on my first prop?
Oh, please
This
do.
is this is the oh, this is the
Oh
Queen
my
of
goodness.
Greece, a ceramic Queen of Greece.
Yeah.
So
That's in the
this
book,
is
isn't it?
yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Queen and King of Greece are kind of lauded throughout the country, as a massive part of the heritage. And people tell you if they look, I look Italian, but my friend looks Greek, and I think,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm missing that. But that's a real artisan piece. I splurged on that. I think it was €350.
Mhm.
I was on the phone to my husband saying, "What do you think?" But we decided it was an investment, and I've told my son that if something happens to me, not to put it in a charity shop.
Yeah.
I do have the
Imagine if
king as
someone
well.
found it. Oh, imagine if someone found it in a charity shop. That'd be a good book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which of us is going to write that?
Yes.
That would be a great book, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the there's everything. The ceramics in Sicily. There's everything from like fridge magnets that aren't even made on the island. They're made in Tunisia, I'm told. To
Which isn't that far
fantastic
away.
pieces. No, that's right.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe the labour laws are not quite so. I don't know. Yeah. So the person who actually helped me, I've probably jumped ahead about 5 questions. Sorry, I'll do that. The person who helped me, Domenica, she makes stuff more like this.
Yeah.
And she makes the actual piece and she hand paints. Although my heroine only does the hand painting. She's ready to go ahead and learn the rest by the end of the book. So, you know, it's everything from a 20-cent fridge magnet on the market to like thousands of euros in the upscale shops, and it's all called ceramics.
Yeah. That's interesting to see the mug after imagining the plates that Ursula was making. It's interesting to see the thing that it was based on. I'm just checking if we've got any comments. I can see them. I'm getting some hello and congratulations.
Go ahead with those.
Wow, that statue looks heavy. I have to agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have to bring them home in my hand baggage. I had them shipped. And just to say hi to some people I know there. Hi, Judy and Jenny and Adrienne and Grace. Susan, I think, Andrea. Oh, Andy, I know everybody there. Adrienne and Grace again. How have you got in twice, Grace? So yeah, hi to everybody and thanks for coming along.
Yeah. So you had some transport problems getting to Sicily, but then that was just delays and things. There wasn't as in there wasn't any. Sorry.
Flights cancelled. I got this flight tracker, and my friend was going to Bulgaria 3 days after I was going to Sicily, and it was the day before I was supposed to go to Sicily. And so I was showing how to use it, and I said, "Look, I've already loaded my flight. Look." So I touch on that, and it's cancelled.
Oh, no.
I didn't go for about a month, and it cost £700 more, but I did get compensation from EasyJet, so I pretty much came up even Stevens. So
I think that's the thing. Sicily has been on my bucket list for years. What's the name of the famous church down there? I assume it's in the in Palermo.
Well, we just call it I don't know about Palermo.
The big Byzantine one. Anyway,
don't know.
That's kind of been on my bucket list for years. But I think because it's just you have to either fly straight there, or it's really just impossible to get to. I haven't made it yet. One day I will, because it's definitely on my bucket list.
Well, I can tell you how to do it. Go and spend a couple of weeks in Malta, get on the hovercraft, and it takes you straight to Palermo. You can go for the day or 2 days or 3 days. So
Malta is on my bucket list as well.
All right, there you go. 2 in 1.
I didn't. I mean, we as a family we don't own a car. We often borrow or like do car sharing or hire a car, and we because we have to fly to Australia every few years. We sort of try and reduce air travel. I mean, I'm flying to London later this year, so it's not like we don't fly at all. But it just means that we've ended up exploring the places that we can reach by train. That was kind of also part of the reason why I ended up in northern Italy for all of my books, because we can hop on a train here in Germany and within sort of 6 to 10 hours, there's quite a wide area of northern Italy where we can reach. And if you book your train in advance, and the kids are free on the train, so that makes a big difference. Yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up writing about northern Italy, was just because it was closer. And then I wrote Italy Ever After, set at Lake Garda, partly because living in Germany, that's like the Germans' favorite location in Italy. they love Lake Garda. I mean, everyone loves Lake Garda, but there really is lots of German there because the Germans like to go. And that kind of came to my mind. So I was like, all right, I'll set this book in Lake Garda. And then it really took over the whole book when I was writing Italy Ever After.
Oh, well, the location can be so important.
Exactly. It kind of has to be, that's what I loved about writing the books in the Venice region, the two Venice books, and then this one, is that there is this kind of weird sense of humor that came across, like when I was listening to songs by local bands, and just the things on Facebook, as in before I even went down there, and then you just get this sense of this sort of wry humor, and that just ended up being such a part of the books, and particularly, the character of Tiziano is very much, sits there unrepentantly speaking his dialect, and that really came straight
he
out
was
of
great.
these. I'm pleased you thought so. Yeah, he was very fun to write, really, really fun. He just came alive. But yeah, that sense of humor and him spouting off the dialect, which is a kind of another funny thing in the area. It's a little bit frowned upon, but also slow, something that they're proud of as well. So that was lots of fun writing that in.
So do you perceive a big difference between the north and the south? Have you been to the south at all?
Well, I haven't been further south than Rome. So because Umbria is Umbria still counted as northern Italy?
It's central Italy. It is right in the middle. Whether you look from north to south or east to west, it's in the middle, and it's the only region without a coast.
I didn't think that. That's the other. Well, Italy and coast is a little bit synonymous, but there is that bit that's that doesn't have coast, so that's interesting. So because I haven't been further south than Rome. So again, I've only anecdotally hear the people from the north saying there's differences. But you've been in the south.
I have, well, Umbria is in the centre, but I've been in the south as well to Sorrento and that area, and Pompeii and Herculaneum and what have you, and that was great. The only thing wrong with that area is that the roads are very windy, and I suffer from motion sickness. So I really liked the train.
My kids do too.
Yeah, it's awful. I really liked the train that went along the coast. We were in Sorrento or San Agnello, which is kind of joined on to Napoli, and took in all the other places en route. I loved that. Anytime anybody wanted to get on a coach, I'd go, well, bye then. I'll stay here today, because just going to the airport and back was enough. It was unpleasant.
But I'm glad they've got the train connection there, because I mean, this is again anecdotally. I've been told that once you get to Rome, anywhere south of there on public transport is unpredictable.
Oh really? But that's good to know. It is in Sicily.
Because that's the thing in A Taste of Italian Sunshine, when I wrote that that Jen had this driving ban and had to use public transport, that was very much inspired by my own experience of public transport, because I don't like to drive, and it was kind of, we got by because there's an app these days, and you can see when everything's running. It wasn't easy because it was out in the countryside. But then from what I hear in the south, it gets very difficult to reliably take a bus or a train. Really? But Sicily was good?
No.
Oh, Sicily, no, sorry. Yeah.
Sicily's supposed to be the only part of Italy that has slow, although apparently from Syracuse actually to Catania to the airport is good, but I didn't do that. I sat in a car and let someone else drive. But where I stayed in Umbria, I was there each year for about 7 years, I think, either tutoring or running a writing retreat. And it was like halfway between Rome and Florence. And that's a really good line. So we would get on at Fabro Ficule and get off at Orvieto. And that was great. Really, really good line.
Yeah. It's all possible. I mean, we went down to the coast in Veneto, the Adriatic coast at Easter, and that was complicated as well. But the connection to Venice is brilliant, and the connection to Verona is great. It's just once we try and get to Bibione, which that was a little complicated.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, you know, to get to Treviso near the Prosecco Hills where I was writing about, it's very easy. Treviso is very well connected, and any of these towns, but then to get out in the countryside was a little complicated. But yeah, I like the advent of public transport apps because it makes all these things possible
Yeah,
without a car.
sounds great. Yeah, well, I don't like to drive on the other side of the road. I'm perfectly happy driving on the British side. I'm just not so keen. So I would be, well, I'm going to France to research my part of my summer 2024 book, going to Quimper in Brittany at the end of June. And I've picked somewhere where I just don't have to drive. I can I can fly into Quimper Airport and get on the shuttle. And
Nice,
I've got the hotel which is right next to the station, so I do not have to drive. But in the UK, I love driving. I just don't like driving on the other side of the road. I'm useless with mirror images.
I've lived in Germany for 6 years total, and I've never driven on the other side of the road.
No.
So,
where do you live in Germany?
Right in the middle in Würzburg. It's not too far from Frankfurt. That's the biggest town nearby, between Frankfurt and Nuremberg. So right in the middle.
So I was born in Mönchengladbach. But I am not German, and I don't speak German apart from to order beer. I can order big beer, small beer, brown beer, white beer, shandy. Apart from that, not so much. But we're in the army, you see. So I left when I was 6 weeks old. But I was born in a British military hospital that had been a Nazi euthanasia place. It was a castle. Yeah, incredible place. Yeah. Don't remember that either, happily.
Yeah, no. Well, I can't imagine you do remember it. Wow, yeah, that's a beginning.
Yeah.
Can you order beer in Italian?
Yeah, I just say birra per favore.
Multitude covers a multitude of sins. Yeah.
I could order beer, water, and granita, and I was good. Oh, and pasta, and I was good.
Granita is an important word, important vocabulary.
Yeah, and you can point on menus, and you got Google Translate, and it's all good.
Yeah. Did you find in Ortigia people spoke English, or
no? Not a great deal. Not a great deal. There was a really nice waiter, very young waiter, and most of his job was to stand outside his restaurant and get people in. And I went one night, and he was chatting away to me, and then the next night I went to the next restaurant. And when I walked past him again at lunchtime, he said, "Last night you were unfaithful to me." And I thought, yeah, they start young, the Italians, and they don't care who they flirt with, what age they are. So I went back to his restaurant.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah. And in an Italian island summer, I round that area is where quite a lot of banter goes on. So I kind of had that waiter in my head a little bit.
I think are we going ahead to the questions anyway? Yeah. Well,
what is?
I had a question about some of those bars and things that seem to end up in the book. But that's interesting to know that those little exchanges end up in the book.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do go and find the real ones. What I do, because I couldn't get there till I was halfway through writing the book because of this issue, and because it was still really coming out of travel restrictions. I put in sort of a bar in my head and maybe named it. I would look in a different Italian town somewhere to get an authentic sounding name for a bar. And then I went and found them. I had a list of things I wanted to research. And so I wanted to research where Ursula goes and has dinner with Nanda, and which bar she goes to meet Alfio's friends, and so on. And so then I would find them, and I would answer myself on my notes app. I'd sit down at lunchtime with my laptop. I just pointed to my laptop in case you thought I was pointing at you. And I would have
online interactions.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? I would have a beer or maybe two, and a granita and maybe an arancino or something, and I would type up my notes from that morning, and then I'd do the same when I got back to my hotel in the afternoon, and then the evening was mine really to go and just have some pasta and walk. I love to walk wherever I am.
Yeah.
I love to walk. So how about
I
you? Do
I
you
often
like the food and drink?
yeah, often the last for the Venice books and this book, I had my kids with me because it's, you know, with school holidays and things, it's hard for me to just take off on my own. So I would say, let's go in the school holidays and then bring them. And in some ways it makes it difficult because I just wouldn't take them to a nice restaurant. We could, especially because they're so child friendly in Italy. That's one. That's just the experiences we had. Everyone was so happy and always wanted to talk to me, and which is kind of definitely came out in the book as well with the big family and the nephews and nieces, and because really people just the man riding his bicycle past us, you know, wanted to stop and chat, even though he didn't he didn't speak any English, but you know, he saw the kids. And we had a man in Venice come up and say that my boys were really sporty and strong because of the positioning of a freckle on their neck. Just these things like that, which, you know, it's interesting. And I kind of like in Venice I was on my own the whole time with the kids as well, and so it's nice that people you know, take an interest, and I certainly, you know, people would help me with our bag and things like that. So it was that was always really nice.
I had that.
But the food and drink aspect, it means so there's a you know, we the takeaway pizza that we had ended up in like when they have the beer and pizza by the river in A Taste of Italian Sunshine. But you know, the character isn't one for fine dining anyway.
No.
So that was kind of based on the pizza that we ate. That's one handy thing about going to Italy. The kids are like, pizza, ice cream, happy.
Yes. And I would add granita to that, but
yes, good point. Yeah, we had a the gelateria that had the ice cream and granita, and we went every day. And I was a bit sad that I didn't actually get them into the story. The gelateria.
Next Italian. I've just seen that Judy Christiana has said in the comments she's spending lunchtime with us, and because I can't remember now whether Judy's in Canada or America. Sorry, Judy. And she says she's eating Italian wedding soup. Are you familiar with that? What is Italian wedding soup?
Wedding soup? No, I don't know. It's
you'll have to leave another comment to let us know that, Judy, please. Yeah, so I'm reading somebody else's comments about the trains. This is the next time I go to Sorrento.
Hi Victoria.
That's why I didn't go the other way, obviously, Victoria, because the train didn't go the other way. It stopped in Sorrento. This is a while ago. It was about 16 or 17 years ago.
And Victoria's going to Lake Garda. Oh, I'm jealous.
There you go.
Yeah,
she just said that to annoy you.
I love my favorite story, although getting ahead of all these questions, was hearing about a reader who'd gone to Lake Garda after reading all of my books, actually, and she saw a boat with the same name as the boat in one of my books, and I was like,
what an influence. And Susan says it sounds idyllic traveling to research books, every writer's dream. Well, it's certainly this writer's dream, Susan. I love it. I try and my editor said to me when we were having a conversation recently, you know, how about France or Italy for the next book? And I said, by France or Italy, do you mean Cyprus? She said, well, no. So it's not going to Cyprus, unfortunately. It's just that I lived there as well and don't remember it, so I want to go. So I guess I'm going to have to go as a holiday instead of research.
I've got France coming up next as well, also heading there, although this is another one where I had to write most of the book before the research trip, as in been nearby and to similar places before, but not actually the exact location. And so I'm sort of going in the editing process instead of the writing process, which is always makes it a bit different. But it's the same. We're going on the train. It's a place that has free public transport if you're staying there. So that's always helpful.
What region of France is it?
I haven't told anyone yet.
Okay.
It's very anyway, it's quite superlative. That's all I'm saying at the moment.
Okay, well, I look forward to that one then. I had 2 books set in Alsace.
Yes.
Which is very
The
Germanic,
French
and of course,
summer. Anyway, yes, I know that.
Summer at the French
one of
Cafe
my
and Just for the Holidays. Yeah,
yeah.
we're supposed to be showing our new books off as well, aren't we?
Oh, it's a good point.
This is the new book. I'm talking about old books, but this is the new book that came out yesterday.
And we've got into France instead of Italy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's stop with France. We'll leave that for next year then, maybe.
Yeah, good point. But so yes, so we've gone through. We don't speak very good Italian, either of us. But is there any of the language that you picked up to that made its way into the books?
There was a swear word somebody told me, but I actually can't remember it now. But it means testicles.
Yeah.
So I remember that. Yeah, no, I am very rubbish with language. Oddly, I learnt shorthand really well, and I learnt to read music better than play music. And my teacher at the time said, almost nobody does that. So there's some coding quirk in my head. I did learn French at school, but I totally failed the O level. I didn't get a grade. I didn't even get an E or an F or whatever was the bottom. I got ungraded. So all I had to do was turn up and write my name in the box and stay there for 10 minutes to get that. And I did the whole exam. Yeah, no, I'm rubbish. Absolutely rubbish at languages. Do you speak German?
Well, yeah, that's why I'm here from studying German, actually at university, which has been less than useful for my book writing. But no, it's funny because I tried to learn shorthand because I did a journalism degree and I was awful at it. But I have terrible handwriting anyway, so my shorthand was just pointless. But no, I love languages though, and we made an effort to learn some French back in the day, and then I get to this point where I can understand a fair bit, but I just can't say anything.
I'm the other way. I can formulate in my head to say something in a childlike way, and then they answer me, and I just, pardon?
Yeah. We had a technician at our holiday house in Leonie at Easter, and I was quite proud of myself because I could throw I could throw verbs at him because I kind of had these verbs, but I have no idea how to make a sentence with them. So it was just and I understood when he said that the dishwasher was not working. So I was happy with that, but it's a little bit, but yeah, I like I tend to listen to music in the language that I'm dealing with for that book. So as in then Italian, Spanish for my first book, Italian for the rest of them, except the French book, which was then in French. And then there's certain kind of things you pick up. And I really loved when, I think I learned it while I was researching the Venice book, this word magari in Italian. It's one of these, like it doesn't translate hugely well, and you really get a cultural sense from it as well. So I said I didn't manage to get it into the Venice books. So this time I was like, I'm getting magari into the book because it's just wonderful. It's this kind of like may it be, or I hope, or that sort of feeling. You know, if you say it'll be a nice day tomorrow, they'll say magari, like we hope so, with a sort of a little bit of doubt, but a lot of heart. And so
it sounds like in Lancashire. My father came from Lancashire, and you'd say happen. And it's short for it may happen.
Yeah, I like that. The funny thing is, it was reminding me of which one is it in the word in Arabic? Is it? Oh no, I'm getting it mixed up. Inshallah, as in God willing. There's a sort of a similarity with that too, which I like. And I don't well, aside from in Lancashire, I wasn't sure what the English equivalent was. So
well, that's the only one I can think of now. But I see that great. Judy has kindly found us the wedding soup. This translation of the Italian language phrase maritata, marriage soup.
Marriage soup.
It's a marriage of greens and meat. Sounds like minestrone, huh? Minestrone came from. It sounds great, Judy. If you come to UK, please take me out and give me some of that. And may I just answer a question from Susan Brooks, as she's kindly directed it at me. How did I get into the pattern of writing one UK-based and one abroad-based book? My summer books, my editor really wanted exotic settings, but not exotic like to go to Japan or Iceland like Jules Wake does, for instance. She wants, and still wants, my settings to be kind of accessible, that, you know, ordinary everyday people can go to Italy and France and you know, central kind of Europe. I wrote one UK-based summer book, which was A Summer to Remember, and my next Christmas book, which is called The Christmas Love Letters, which I'm editing at the moment, is also set in the same place in Norfolk. And so they're going to make like a pair, a summer book and a winter book. And there are also two winter books that are a little bit set in another country, in Switzerland or Sweden. And they happened for identical reasons, that a friend said to me, if you want to go, like, one, her husband lived there and she lived there part of the year. The other one, her mother lives there. Christina Courtney, you might know if you read her Viking stuff. And they both said, I will take you there and translate for you and be your tour guide and everything. So I did that. But in both times, my editor said people do like the middle dip books for Christmas. And so they were a little bit middle dip and a little bit not middle dip. So that's how it happens, Susan. Thank you for the question.
There's certainly, from when we release these travel destination books, you do get people saying, oh, I'm off to insert destination here. And I've got this book to read at the same time, which is really nice. I think I've seen a few photos of my Paris book because people took it to Paris. And, you know, that's, and that, you know, that's doubly nice because you might be able to sell a few copies just because it's got Paris in the title, which is always nice.
Exactly.
So certainly
people are attracted by.
I think I didn't realize when I wrote my first book, which takes place, the first few chapters are in London, but the rest of it is Miami, Mexico, Colombia. And then I kind of was given the drill with my second book that it's nice if the readers can imagine that they actually might go there one day. There's it's certainly nice for the reader to be able to connect to the place in that way.
I think so. Although I'd be happy to go, like Jules's books, they are set in very far-flung places, and she does okay. I think, you know, maybe an editor and author combination comes to a conclusion what your readership likes, and obviously our readership both likes that.
Absolutely. So you showed us your props.
If you got some props. I was just looking at the next question and realizing I jumped the gun horribly. I'm so sorry.
No.
They're all the props I have, apart from my book, which I've flashed once. So you go ahead.
I've got my Prosecco, of course. Which one am I starting with
now?
Well, I mean, actually, I've got the one I'm drinking, but I have so I have a couple of different types because this is the of course, I had to research the wine itself.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Not that traveling with my kids, there wasn't a huge amount actually consumed, but we did do a tasting. We visited one or two places, particularly this winery, which is why I then got an order from them in time for publication day, which was really special because it's a small family-run winery. And so I was the lady that we met the day we were there, and she took us around and gave us a tasting, and she was also a mother and kind of enjoyed interacting with our kids. And so it has the little independent winery label on it, Vignaioli Indipendenti, which is nice. So you probably wouldn't see any of this stuff in the UK, which is the cool thing about this bottle. It is DOCG. Sorry,
it would be reblended for the UK palate anyway, wouldn't it? When I went, so I like Orvieto Classico, and I went to a tasting, and he said, what you get in the UK is not what you get in Italy, it's for your palate.
Well, the thing with Prosecco is that they have the designations for the amount of residual sugar remaining after the fermentation, and so it kind of seems that certain levels are more popular in different markets. So I mean, in Germany, for example, the sparkling wine is really sweet, and that's the palate. So even the wines that they make here, the sparkling wines, are much sweeter than what we're used to in the UK. So it's just interesting because I kind of learned that that's just the palate. It's just normal. But so the thing with this one is this is the Brut, which is more the style that you'd get in the UK.
Yeah.
They even do a Brut Nature, which is very, very low in residual sugar. But in Italy, the extra dry is more common. And it's interesting as well because when I was there, you learn things like, in the past, they would sometimes add sugar back in to the really cheap stuff to basically mask the taste of the lower quality grapes. And so in the past, people associated sweet wine with bad wine. But the thing with this one is that there's no added sugar. It's just, it hasn't been fermented as much. So there's a little bit more remaining. There's not anything added at all. And then I brought along this one because this is actually really special and you will never, ever, ever see this in the UK. This is the natural fermentation, which is in the book as well.
One. Yeah. I was interested in that because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, neither had I. So it even has it has a different cork. When we bought this to take home after we visited the winery, she popped a bottle cap on it because it was so hot when we were there that she was just a bit worried about it. And I think it hadn't been packaged up properly either. The bottle we bought that day. But yeah, it's actually if you turn it upside down, you can see the you probably can't see from here. You're seeing a reflection of my phone. But you can. It's got little residual bits of the yeast in there.
Right.
The lees, they're called.
Yeah.
Because it's fermented in the bottle. So it's not like a champagne because they don't disgorge it, but it is fermented in the bottle, and it's the sort of countryside traditional fermentation, which is really nice. But the thing with this one, also there's different levels of sugar in these, but this one from this winery actually has all of the sugar ferments, so it's very dry. But it's prosecco, so it's fruity.
So what that means is when I like dry wine, I'm actually going on a diet because there's not much sugar in it.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's healthier for diabetics, and but yeah. So that's my imaginary prosecco tasting. I'm sorry I can't pour you a glass because wouldn't that be amazing?
That would, yeah. The technology isn't quite up to it. Did you notice there that Tatiana has said, I went to Venice just because I read Leonie's book?
Yeah.
Leonie's book. So.
Hi, Tat. There you go. There's you. That's I love hearing about the. Isn't it amazing when people go to these places and one day you'll be hearing about everyone going to Ortigia. Actually, I was hoping the Prosecco Hills can their tourist board can start sharing my
give you some money. Yeah.
Sharing my book around will do. But so shall we move on? We talked a lot about the places but not about our books, but I suppose people can read our books. I'm sorry.
And in case anybody forgot, it looks like that.
Yeah, good point. Get it out there. Little characters. So we just for fun, I don't know, or we have some quiz questions for each other, but it's not a real quiz. It's more just to chat about things. Mine are loosely related to the book. I'll start. Shall I?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, please.
Don't worry. Okay. So before Signor Lamborghini started making cars, he made a different sort of vehicle. Was it A, bicycles, B, tractors, or C, spacecraft?
B, tractors. I would love it to be spacecraft. But I did take that in from the book because I didn't know that because I like cars. And to know that there was a Lamborghini tractor was completely new to me. So that really struck me.
I love that. That was something that I picked up before I went down there, was this Veneto and tractors. It's a kind of a thing because it's so rural. It's like, the breadbasket of Italy, because they get so much rain, as in compared to the south, or actually a little bit too much at the moment. Although it's
absolutely
Yeah, but the conditions there for growing are really good. So you get the special all these varieties of corn and the radicchio and all of those specialties from the area. And so tractors apparently a bit of a symbol of the countryside people of Veneto. So I enjoyed. Initially, I'd written a Landini, which is one of the kind of more common Italian-made tractors, and then I discovered the same thing, that Lamborghini makes tractors, and they have the same, like Lamborghini, the metal,
Wow.
like you get in the car. I was like, I have to include that in the book.
Yeah,
Definitely got to go in.
Yeah, absolutely. So mine aren't funny, I have to say.
Oh, no pressure. No, I make jokes when I'm nervous. So that's the only reason they come
make
out.
jokes like 2 days later when I think of them. Does Ursula move to Italy to study ceramic art or tattooing or hotel management?
I loved that she was a tattoo artist. I thought that was brilliant. It just made I was reading it, it's like, an Irish tattoo artist. I'm going to enjoy this book. And then anyway, of course, the answer is a ceramic painting. But the fine, the tattooing and the fine art, I thought I bonded with her over that. And even then, when Il Tatuaggi came up in Italian, when Fabio said it, because there's a song by a band that I listened to a lot when I was researching my book, and they have a song called Tattoo, but it's in the Veneto dialect, and so it was just fun. I was looking at it, and I see, whenever I see a tatuaggi tatuaggio in Italian, I think tatuaio in Veneto dialect.
Yeah. God, you're good to mentally translate like that. Yeah, well, of course, Ursula, having been a tattoo artist in Brighton, then when she makes her own range, they call it tattoo because she copies what's on her own arms onto the borders of the plates. I was very impressed with that idea.
Because I'm whatever I read it for the love story.
Same.
The bit where Alfio runs his hand down her arm, her tattooed arm. Oh, be still, my beating heart. Yes, Alfio was a bit of a highlight for me. As
I did feel that he worked well. I have to say, I always fall in love of all my heroes, though. Otherwise, how can you write a hero?
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite?
My very first Middleditch book had a hero called Ratty, and he's actually my least PC hero.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if I went back and rewrote that book, I might modify him slightly, but he's the only one who's ever had his own fan mail, and he's the only one who's ever conducted an interview.
Okay.
I did really like Alfio, I have to say. Yeah, I did really like Alfio. He was actually a Maltese guy I was in Malta writing. And I hadn't got a picture of him on my head. It was just really planning rather than writing. And I just saw this guy walking along, and he had long curly hair, about the length of mine actually, but just like really curly, and very brown eyes. And they sort of had a lot of white round them. I don't know if I tried to put this across in the book, and my editor said he sounds like a zombie.
It's always hard, isn't it? It's good to have a specific image, but yeah. No, I must admit, because ever since Eurovision, I've been listening to Due Vite, like on repeat, and Marco Mengoni, when he was younger, had that hair, and so I was reading the book and just seeing Marco Mengoni. So
yeah. Well, this is the nice thing with reading, isn't it? That people make their own pictures. If you watch a movie and I don't know, whoever is the hero. I don't watch many movies. Let's say Ryan Gosling is the hero. He will always be that, even if you read the book afterwards. Whereas if you read the book, then you have your own hero in your head.
And I love it when the readers suggest who they think it could look like, or if you post the pictures that you look through the stock photos and you post the pictures. I had to look for stock photos for Tiziano, someone who had 2 earrings, a man who had 2 earrings, and then that was I did find a picture that worked quite well, and then that had a couple of people comment, that's quite close to what I thought for him too. So you didn't
get one with nipple rings then.
And I mean, a tongue piercing is also kind of hard to bring across. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad. I was glad my editor ran with all of that. Actually, she said, would one earring be more modern and cool than two? And I thought about that, and I asked a couple of people, and I was like, no, that he's got two earrings. He just does.
Fair enough. That's just how you saw him. My son has two earrings in the wrong in the one ear. And oddly, when he was a teacher, he was asked not to wear a tie to school because he taught children with special needs. But he could keep his earrings, so that's bizarre, isn't it? I have just seen we got a 5-minute notification, but I didn't see when it came.
So can we do one more question?
Okay, yeah, go. You go for it.
Oh, I have to pick one. Oh, I have to pick my between. Okay, this one's funnier. So the Vespa, meaning wasp, is a symbol of Italy, made by the Piaggio company. But there is another vehicle made by the same company that's equally iconic but much less known outside the country. Is it the Piaggio Mosca, meaning fly? Is it the Piaggio Bruco, meaning caterpillar? Or is it the Piaggio Ape, meaning bee?
I've just remembered as you said it, the ape. Yeah. The bee, yeah, because beekeeping is apiary, isn't it?
Yeah, Latin, exactly, Latin. Anyway, I always like, because the Vespa is the classic Italian stereotype. You know, always love playing with that one. I had that in Italy Ever After. It was like this sort of stereotypical day on a Vespa that, you know, use that to bring a bit of fun and, you know, acknowledging that it's the stereotype, and then playing with it. But no, I love the ape. There's a picture going around online of a library inside an ape, which is these little three-wheeled agricultural vehicles. And now, as soon as we arrive in Italy, when we go, I was like, oh look, there's an ape. They're just everywhere, and they look so funny with the like sort of farmer in the front in his tiny little cab driving this little vehicle. That does feels like the Italian countryside.
Brilliant.
Great.
I quite want one now. So my last question: why does Alfio decide to return to Sicily from Spain at the beginning of the book? A, he's homesick. B, his mum and niece need help. Or C, he's been made redundant.
Well, I was going to say D, he had a dream about his father.
Well, he did. Yeah, he did have a dream about his father.
I caught you out too.
You did, no, that's true. But he had the dream about his father having to go home to help his mum and niece. They're all sick. Everybody's sick and having a bad time, and
love just makes everything better. I like that.
It does. Yeah, and family love as well as romantic love. There's a big divide between the two, I accept, but you know, we most of us hope for both.
Exactly, and we can write about both. And that.
I certainly do. I had an agent back in the day who, not my agent anymore. She's retired, but she put me right about that with my very first book with her. She said, no character or no main character exists in isolation. You've got to give them a place in a family, or to say they have no family, give them their place in the workplace and amongst their friends. And I've never forgotten that. It was good advice, I think.
That's interesting. Great. Well, our time is definitely ticking by.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm ready to fill my glass.
That's a very good point. I thought the time would just fly by at the beginning, so that's brilliant. There's so much to talk about between our two books. And thank you for reading, because I know that authors don't have much time to read, so that is really appreciated.
I enjoyed it. As you may not know this, but I listened to the wrong book first.
Sorry about that.
The other Italian book. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I said, "Is it this one?" You said, "No."
Well, you got to go to Lake Garda as well as the Prosecco Hills.
I did. I enjoyed them both. Thank you very much. So, thank you for reading. Also, ready.
I was early copy of a Sue Moorcroft book. Sign me up.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And thanks everybody thank you for coming.
Yeah, that's true. Good night, everyone. Happy Friday night.
Yeah.
Well, Friday.
Have
evening.
A good weekend, particularly if you're having a long weekend.